How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am good, thank you. I am good. So today, we are going to be discussing buying a new home or upsizing or downsizing, moving from one property to another,
Yep.
and really what's involved in the process. So,
Right.
and a lot has to do with the financing, a lot has to do with the market, whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. And today it still happens to be a seller's market for the most part, although I am seeing some transitioning happen. Why don't you start, Maria, because I think a lot has to do with the financing aspect of it.
Yeah, sure. So, a couple of different scenarios can arise. Sorry, in a different room than I normally am, and my chair feels lopsided.
Yep.
Um, but like, if you're, let's say you're already in a home, you own your home,
Right.
and you have some equity in that home, and by equity, right, we mean the difference between what your home is valued at now or would appraise for,
Right.
minus any mortgages or other liens that you have on it.
Right.
And if you are in a situation where you're at, certainly if you have like 80 or 85% equity. And where people get a little bit confused with this is, like, let's say my home is $1 million and I owe 600,000 on it. Most people will say, well, I have 400,000 in equity. And that's correct. That statement is correct. But you don't have 400,000 in equity that you can borrow. Like you're not going to be able to take out 100% of what the you can't have 100% financing on the home.
Right.
So let's say if the home is $1 million and you owe 600, you could easily tap in anywhere from 200 to 250,000, right? With a home equity line of credit.
Right.
And with that money, you can then take that to be, your down payment or part of your down payment towards the purchase of another property. And
Right.
if your intention is ultimately to sell your existing home, then you're not carrying that debt that long, right? What's really great about a home equity line of credit, and I do encourage, anybody that I speak with who's like, looking like they think like they need to either upsize or downsize, if they have the equity in their property, I'll say, why don't we go ahead and get you the equity line of credit approved now?
Right.
Because there are no closing costs on home equity lines of credit, at least
Right.
not with my bank. And you don't make any payments or pay any money on it unless you actually use it when you tap into it. So, I mean, I personally have had a home equity line on my home for 5 years. I've never used it. I've never paid anything for it. So that's certainly, one of the ways to size up, size down, if you
Right.
will, right?
Right.
Before you sell your home.
Right. I think
Because Michelle, in that case, right? Like I'm, because I always tell my clients, and I would think that this works for you. Like if you can tap into that, and instead of making an offer to buy the new property contingent upon selling your property, that's going to be a much better offer.
yeah, absolutely. And it really gives you a lot of freedom, especially in the market where in a market that's still strong and still robust, where it's still a seller's market to a great degree. I can't say 100%. You're seeing bidding, but you may not see as many multiple offers. And I'm also
Right.
will back off on offers or renegotiate. I think that a home equity line gives you a lot of freedom in a seller's market where inventory is limited, and you this way it gives you the opportunity to pounce on a property
Yep.
or make an offer on a property. You have to be the kind of person, do you buy before you sell? And I think that in an area where the inventory is low, I think, and you find a home you really love or that could work for you, even on a short-term basis, depending on your
Right.
timeline, I think it's important to be able to take that risk, and the this kind of financing really gives you the
Yeah.
opportunity, gives you extra cash that if you use, you use. If you don't use, you're not penalized by it, right?
Yeah.
So,
And listen, in regards to the risk, right? Obviously, as a lender, we're going to be assessing that risk too. So if we're, one of the things that we're going to look at is, hey, can you comfortably afford your existing mortgage, potentially the home equity line of credit
right,
payment, and a new mortgage? If you're getting a new mortgage on the new home, um, even if it's for a short period of time, you're still going to need to be able to qualify for that, right? I mean, there's some people that come to me and I'm like, look, you have to sell your home before you can buy a new home. Like
right,
there is no other plan for you because you can really only afford one housing expense
right. So
at a time.
let's say you're in that position,
Yeah,
right, where you have to sell, where you have to sell your home before you could buy. So then, what happens if you don't find another home? Right, you sell your home, but now at least you know the amount of cash you have.
yeah,
Yeah, putting the home equity line option aside, at least you know how much cash that you have available to buy a home, right? You
right.
maybe some debt, maybe some credit lines that are opened, or you've sold, you've worked on other kind of loans such as car loan, and you've eliminated a lot of that. So now you really know how much cash you have, and if you can't find a home, what can you do? You could either rent. You could also rent it back from the previous
Rent
owner.
it back from the person you're selling it
Yeah.
to. Yeah. Hmm.
I don't love that option, but it is an option if
Yeah.
it's agreeable with the new purchaser. Or you could find a rental property, even short term. And I tell my clients, don't lock yourself into a long term rental, even though short term rentals tend to be pricier. But this way, it gives you more flexibility to see something. Also, if the market's changing, you want to be
Yeah.
available, make yourself available to make an offer on another property. Or
And
see
what?
if you're in a lease, if make your lease flexible. So you
Yeah.
have an app.
Yeah. Michelle, there's one other way that I want to mention that folks might be able to tap into, money to get for a down payment that is allowable by banks and lenders. And that is if they have investment accounts, marketable securities, stocks, etc. You might also be able to get what's called like a margin loan or a securities backed loan. And that's another, you know another really great option for many people. Like, let's say you have $500,000 in the stock market. You should be able to borrow at least up to 50% of that. Some institutions will let you go even higher than that. It depends on, how the market is doing.
Right,
But that's not considered a loan as far as a lender is concerned. So it is allowable funds that can be used for a down payment. And then when you sell your other property, you can, pay that back and, release that securities backed loan from your stock account.
right.
So I do see more and more people, especially like in our area where there's a lot of people in finance and such that will do that because there might even be some tax benefits to that. Although I am not an accountant, so everybody who
Or a
might be
month.
listening, check with an attorney or a CPA on that. But another option to look into in terms of like when you're thinking like, hey, I really need to, in particular when you're thinking like, I'm growing out of this home. Because I'm hearing more of that because people haven't really moved since, especially if they have mortgages that are at the low pandemic
Right,
rates.
right,
But I have conversations on almost a weekly basis where they're like, oh, we're having our second child now, and we don't want to give up this 3.5% mortgage, but like we need more space.
right, right. I just had a call this morning. I don't want to say who it is, but a call this morning, and they said, you know what, there's a property coming on near me. It's larger. I said, but you have a really low rate. And he said, yeah, but I really need more space now. The same, literally the same conversation. So,
Yeah.
okay, we could see it, but keep in mind, I mean, I think you have to kind of, things are very fluid in real estate is what I find. I think the market's
Yes.
incredibly strong on the sales side for several years now, right? 5 years
Yes.
roughly. and even maybe more, and it's gotten stronger. And now I see a kind of a change, where a plateau where there are just less people bidding on a property. And I'm also seeing that even from buyers of mine, where they'll make an offer and then they'll renegotiate, or they'll rescind the offer or pull back. So I see that people are they're rethinking. They're not so quick to jump. So I am seeing houses stay on the market longer. I'm seeing price reductions in almost every community. I look really all through Westchester County, north, east, and west, and I'm seeing some communities have more product, and even those that there's not many houses on the market, I'm seeing homes that are still overpriced and they're trending down, or they're staying on the market 100 days, 50 days, even a month. So you have to really watch the market and really understand in the market you're buying, whether it's a buyer's market, in the middle, or a seller's market. And I think that will influence you whether you should buy or sell your property before you trade up to another one.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff.
If anybody has any questions, please reach out to Maria Esposito at Citizens Bank, or Michelle Silverman Bedell at Silversons Realty. And have a great day and a great weekend.
Have a great day. Have a great weekend, Michelle. Bye.
Well, you too. Bye-bye.